I style a life of travel around journalism. This is Josh Friedman in Almaty, Kazakhstan. Almaty is the largest city in Kazakhstan, but it is no longer the capital, and it is certainly not the sexiest tourist destination nowadays. That would be the new capital, Astana, in the north, where I will be heading next, and where there are many modern, if not futuristic looking buildings that are a lot more intriguing for the eye. However, Almaty, with its larger population, with its history, and with its central location in the Central Asian region, is very much at the heart of Central Asia, if not the city that is the backbone of Central Asia. In my travel style, journalism is the backbone of my nomadic lifestyle. That's a decision that I have made that I have not come to regret. Rather than pursuing a sexier form of travel, whether that be backpacking for budget travelers or jet setting or island hopping for the wealthier travelers, I prefer to go to places where there are exciting world events taking place and where I get to meet fascinating people and get the rush from pursuing the news and chasing stories. That motivates me, and I am very grateful that from making journalism the backbone of my travel, I have been able to witness some rather dramatic events, such as Europe's refugee crisis. I was really in the thick of that a couple years ago during the peak of the refugee crisis, when in the matter of just months, more than 1 million people flowed into Europe, primarily across the Balkans, and I was there in the refugee camps, sometimes on the borders when there were the pileups, and those are the moments that, looking back upon your travels, you will never forget. And part of journalism, or at least my style of journalism, which despite it being new media is kind of more of an old school, on the ground reporting type of journalism, well, at the heart of that is the necessity to go out and meet people. When you're pursuing stories, when you need to develop leads, when you need to track down an interviewee, there's really no room for being shy. You got to get over your shyness, and you need to build connections with a lot of people. And because of that, I have been lucky enough to develop a lot of connections with a lot of people, really ranging from the West Coast of the United States all the way to Afghanistan. Granted, I have not been to Afghanistan, but through my reporting on the refugee crisis, I've actually become very close with some people in Afghanistan. And that's really something that is credit to making journalism the backbone of my travel lifestyle. Another huge plus to approaching travel with journalism at being your primary focus is that you really develop a stronger sense of the makeup of the cultures that you are visiting. So when you come to a place like Kazakhstan, and I'm not really here to do reporting, however, whenever I travel somewhere and I go somewhere new, I want to delve into the culture, and there are ties between Kazakhstan and some of the countries that I cover regularly. So as soon as I pop up at the Kyrgyz-Kazakh border, I'm looking at the sign and I'm thinking, well, gee, that's in Cyrillic. but there are a few funky letters, and those words aren't Russian. So I start probing a little bit, and I realize that, oh, okay, the Kazakh language, albeit a Turkic language, for years, I believe more than a century, or about a century, maybe a little less, has been written in Cyrillic. There has been an incredible amount of Russification here in Kazakhstan, as is the case across Central Asia, and of course really across the former Soviet Union. In the streets, people primarily speak Russian. Almost all the signs are in Russian, and that's in spite of the fact that Kazakhs are basically a Turkic ethnic group. Their language comes from the Turkic family of languages. It is a largely Muslim country, albeit not that religious, yet there are incredible ties to Russia, and likewise we're also in Asia, so you could figure out how there might be some sort of connections to China or elsewhere. Now, these are sort of the things that jump out at you when you approach travel with a journalistic mindset. You really have a desire to understand the cultures you're visiting, and when you don't understand them, because of that journalistic mindset, there's something inside of you that is just bursting up and out with questions. When I am somewhere new and there's something about the culture or the language or the politics that I don't understand, I often just approach someone on the streets, strike up a conversation, and start asking them the questions, because I have a very curious mind, and all the journalism I do seems to make me more and more curious, and because of that, I get to learn a fair amount about the cultures that I am visiting. So those are some of the reasons why I make journalism the backbone of my travel, and regardless of whether or not you see yourself as a journalist, or even you see yourself as possibly making a bit of a foray into journalism, there is certainly something to be learned and gained from having a bit of a journalistic mindset when you are traveling. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned for more tips about travel and journalism and international living. If you enjoyed the video or you have any more questions, please leave the video a like or comments underneath with any comments or questions you have, and consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much, and from Almaty, Kazakhstan, до свидания, or goodbye.